tase you. I've had enough. Put your hands behind your back. Do it now.
Video obtained exclusively by CBS 6 shows the interactions between a mentally ill hospital patient and a Richmond police officer, security, and medical staff, just 36 hours before the man would be shot and killed during an encounter with police in Chesterfield. On July 5, 2023, 34-year-old Charles Byers, who lived with schizoaffective disorder, suffered an episode. His mother took him to HCA's Chippenham Hospital, where he was later found roaming the halls and heard voices and saw things that weren't there, court records say. So early the next morning, Byers was placed under a temporary detention order, with the Richmond magistrate ordering that he receive involuntary psychiatric treatment for up to 72 hours. Byers was admitted into Chippenham's Tucker Pavilion. 3 hours later, hospital staff say he became aggressive towards staff while they tried to move him to a room on another floor. When Byers refused to get onto an elevator, a Richmond police officer was called to assist.
No, I can't cooperate. I can just wait till my hearing, and real cops will come get me.
Why don't you want to take the elevator?
Because I don't trust you specifically.
Byers is unintelligible on many occasions throughout the exchange. Security officers and nurses also surround him.
So are you gonna take the elevator?
No, of course I am.
Well, you don't have no other option.
About 4 minutes in, Byers says he gets motion sickness, so the RPD officer asks someone to get him medicine. A security officer suggests that police handcuff him if he won't cooperate.
If you're comfortable with it, he maybe can clank him in one officer on each side. You know what? Just to diffuse the situation right now.
I think that's going to aggravate the situation.
12 minutes into the video, an employee arrives to give Byers a shot in his arm. The group agrees to give him a few minutes for the effects to kick in and then get him on the elevator. But that doesn't happen.
You first.
Let's go. Come on, Charles. Here, I got you. Come on. I'll go down with you.
Byers still declines, so then a nurse again suggests that the RPD officer handcuff him.
Come on, just take him down.
24 minutes in, after multiple refusals, a nurse reaches for Byers, and he can be seen grabbing the nurse's wrist. The RPD officer and nurse then grab Byers and try to stand him up.
You want to get tased?
No, sir.
Well, it's going to happen.
Let him cuff you, okay? Let him cuff you. We're done talking.
They struggle with Byers and then bring him to the ground. The patient appears to resist being handcuffed.
Oh, if this breaks my wrist, that's a problem.
No, it's a problem for you.
26 minutes in, unable to handcuff Byers, the RPD officer says,
Stop resisting. I'm gonna tase you. I've had enough. Put your hands behind your back. Do it now.
They then get off of Byers. The officer threatens to tase him multiple times and says if he doesn't comply, he'll have to, quote, take the ride.
Because right now, you're probably going to jail instead of staying here for treatment.
33 minutes in, the nurse asks the RPD officer to take him away.
At this point, I would just request that you guys take him.
You're the one that got kicked?
Yeah.
In response, the nurse nods his head. The Richmond police officer says that Byers is under arrest for kicking a medical worker, though the body camera footage viewed by CBS 6 does not clearly show a kick. After being removed from the hospital, Byers would be taken to jail to go before a Richmond magistrate on an assault charge, and the magistrate would ultimately release him. A day and a half later, Byers would end up half a mile from his house in Chesterfield County, attempting to break into homes. Chesterfield police responded, and officers shot and killed him. They say that Byers advanced towards them after refusing to drop a hatchet. Now, the family filed a $35 million lawsuit against HCA Healthcare and Richmond Police, claiming violation of patient rights, wrongful death, and negligence. The defendants have since responded, requesting that the suit be dismissed. They claim their actions were in accordance with the law and did not cause Byers' death. Defendants say they had no control over the magistrate's decision to not order Byers be taken back to the hospital or the events that transpired between him and Chesterfield County police officers. I'm Tyler Lane, CBS 6 News.
Every time the seasons change, it makes me so sad that time is just passing and he's not here with us.
Peggy and Michael Byers are about to mark a year without their son. On July 8th, 2023, a Chesterfield police officer shot and killed Charles Byers.
130 amount was he has a weapon in his hand.
After they responded to reports of a breaking and entering and then found Byers carrying a hatchet. We know now Byers was in the midst of a mental health crisis and under an active court order to be held in a psychiatric facility.
We're not dealing with a criminal here. We're dealing with somebody who is in distress, and we should take a little more time and a little more care to try to de-escalate this situation.
Come on, put it down.
Put the hatchet down.
CBS 6 was the first to obtain the body camera footage.
Put it down.
It shows Byers holding a hatchet down by his side and not complying with numerous orders to drop it.
Go ahead, tase him.
Put it down now.
Tase him.
After 45 seconds, and as Byers is backing away from police, an officer shoots at him 5 times. Byers turns around, and the officer shoots 2 more times at his back. Commonwealth's attorney Erin Barr justified the officer's actions. She found they had reasonable fear for their own safety and for neighbors who could have encountered the situation. And in her case review, Barr considered the opinions and findings from an outside company. CBS 6 confirmed through a public records request that Chesterfield police paid For Science at least $12,500 to provide an 82-page analysis and report on the Byers shooting. But police are withholding that report from the public, and they also won't show us their contracts with the company. For Science, founded by Dr. Bill Lewinsky, says it provides research, training, and consulting into human performance and deadly force encounters involving police.
We do so little and expect so much, and if the officer fails, it's on the officer. We need to change what we're doing to match the expectations that society has of that officer.
Let him cuff you, okay? Let him cuff you. We're done talking.
Lewinsky has testified as an expert in trials across the country and has been interviewed by numerous media outlets over the years, including CBS and the Associated Press. Some of his research can be found on the FBI's website. But For Science has its critics.
It's just a way to find a reason to justify the police officer's actions.
But For Science seems to exist solely on the premise of no matter what the officer did, it was the right thing to do.
Will Pelfrey is a VCU policing researcher and has worked with the U.S. Department of Justice on use of force policies. He reviewed For Science's studies, including an article by Lewinsky that was not published in a peer-reviewed journal about why officers can reasonably shoot suspects in the back.
I think a lot of what they do is pseudoscience.
Pelfrey says the company does base their research off real science, reaction time, visual acuity, human perception, but author and sociologist Dr. Michael Sierra Arevalo says the way that For Science applies those concepts in policing goes too far.
The degree to which Lewinsky and others make very, very firm claims about what that officer definitely saw or could not do or did for X reasons, simply is not supported by the research, even the stuff that is published in peer-reviewed journals.
In court cases, some judges have excluded testimony from Lewinsky and For Science instructors, with one federal judge writing that their studies enjoy little or no acceptance within the relevant scientific community. But Lewinsky defends his credibility. He tells me, "I'm a PhD from a fully accredited university and a fully tenured university professor for 28 years. He continues, "I was also the head of a fully integrated law enforcement program, the largest in the central Midwest. I was also a chairperson of the Department of Government." Lewinsky says that For Science has produced more than 30 peer-reviewed scientific studies, and his research associates combined have written over 1,000 publications. Still, he faces accusations of bias toward police.
He is an industry-created expert that no matter what you do, is going to come in and say, it was just fine.
Randy McGinn was a special prosecutor in a 2015 police shooting case in New Mexico. She cross-examined Lewinsky and convinced the judge to throw out most of his testimony.
Since 2003, you have only testified on the side of police officers in criminal cases, at secret grand juries, and in civil cases.
We've been asked to present our research to police or for police officers, yes.
You have never testified on behalf of a citizen who was shot, killed, or injured by the police since 2003, have you?
We've never been asked.
Yes, sir.
So the answer is no.
I asked Lewinsky myself if he could name an example in which Force Science concluded an officer's use of force was improper. He did not answer the question, but said, quote, "Attorneys will do what they can to influence current and future cases, even distort factual information if it suits their purpose." The Byers family, however, doubts the publicly shielded opinions that Force Science gave about the shooting of their son.
So I have no confidence in this company, and I'm really disappointed in Chesterfield County in wasting our taxpayer dollars on their services.
The Chesterfield police declined an interview to discuss their decision to hire Force Science. The CBS 6 confirmed through a public records request that the department continued to work with the company after the conclusion of the Byers investigation. In April, the department hosted Force Science for a training on force encounters, and this agreement, signed in September of last year, shows the department paid Force Science $7,900 for at least 20 people to attend. I'm Tyler Lane for CBS 6 News.
It was a perfect storm of things that could go wrong, went wrong.
State Delegate Deborah Gardner speaks out about the circumstances surrounding the death of Charles Byers, a man shot and killed by police last year while carrying a hatchet in a Chesterfield neighborhood.
Put it down now.
Tase him.
We'd later learned that Byers was in the midst of a mental health crisis and under an active court order to receive psychiatric treatment.
It seems like the system failed Mr. Byers, from the private hospital to law enforcement to the legal system.
The chain of events began July 5th, 2023, when Byers suffered an episode of his schizoaffective disorder, and his mother took him to Chippenham Hospital. Early that next morning, a Richmond magistrate placed him under a temporary detention order, which required Byers to be involuntarily held for up to 72 hours.
Stop resisting! Tase you! I've had enough!
But records show that Byers was only admitted for 3 hours before an altercation with staff led him to being forcibly removed from the hospital and arrested without being seen by a psychiatrist.
Because right now you're probably going to jail instead of staying here for treatment.
Richmond police would later admit the arresting officer did not know Byers was under a TDO.
All of those entities should have known that he was never to leave the hospital.
It was a big communication lapse.
While the legislature requires public facilities to honor TDOs, Gardner says they should consider the same level of accountability for private hospitals.
For most private facilities, it's a matter of liability for them and a matter of cost. But as with every other entity such as theirs, they have a moral and ethical responsibility to the patients that they serve.
Shortly after Byers' arrest, he went before a Richmond magistrate on an assault charge. The magistrate chose to let Byers go free as long as he promised to show up in court the next day, which he did not. Now, a magistrate's bail determination checklist does not mandate that they check for active mental health-related custody orders, like a TDO, during a criminal proceeding. That checklist is governed by the General Assembly. Do you think that there should be a requirement for a magistrate to look for something like that in these cases?
I do, and that is some legislation that I'm willing to take a look at moving forward for a possibility in the next session.
Democratic State Senator Ghazala Hashmi agrees.
I think that is absolutely necessary next step for us to take a look at the state level.
On July 8th, 36 hours after Byers' release, he had a fatal encounter with Chesterfield police. Both lawmakers believe that General Assembly action could prevent something like this from happening again, and they say that they're committed to figuring out a solution.
The more we listen to families and to individuals who have experienced and gone through this kind of tragedy, the better our legal systems are and our mental health systems are.
In this situation, I don't think everything that should have, could have been done was done to save this person's life.
And both legislators also commented on Chesterfield Police's response to the call leading up to that shooting. Coming up in part 2 of our story next week, we'll explain their concerns, plus why police reform legislation passed in 2020 has stalled here in Virginia. Reporting in Richmond, I'm Tyler Lane, CBS 6 News.